Hello there, I'm Dani, and today Great.com talks with Peter Samuelson, who is the president and co-founder of FirstStart.org. If you haven't heard of them, they are a nonprofit organization based in the United States that works nationwide to improve the lives of foster youth by partnering with child welfare agencies, universities, and school districts to ensure that foster youth have the academic, life skills, and adult supports needed to transition to higher education and adulthood successfully. If you're new here to this podcast, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we'll learn about the importance of giving foster youth the right support to adulthood. Hi, Peter, and welcome to our podcast.
Happy to be with you.
Thank you for accepting. And to begin, I would like to understand more, how does the foster care system works in the United States, and how is the current context you've been dealing with?
So the most important thing that happened to me in the first 20 years of my life was that I had an English teacher, and I was year 10, 10th grade, and Mr. Lund, I'm sure he had a first name, but I never knew his first name. Maybe his first name was Mr., I don't know. But he said, see me after school. And Mr. Lund said to me, now look here, Samuelson, if you worked about twice as hard, you could go to a really excellent university. And I said, I think, Mr. Lund, you're completely wrong. You know, no one in my whole family has ever been to university. My dad left school at 14, and he said, Mr. Lund said, oh, well, then it'll be even better because you'll be the first one. And I did what he said, and he tutored me and he mentored me, and I got a scholarship to Cambridge, and I did my bachelor's and my master's. And the second thing, I guess, that happened in my third decade was that I worked as an interpreter for an American producer in France. And he eventually said to me, would you like to come back to Los Angeles and see how a film is edited? And I said, I would like that very much. And I found myself, single in Los Angeles. And I experienced this thing that Americans don't pay any attention to, but it seemed extraordinary to me, called the American dream. And, we don't have in the United Kingdom, where I grew up, we don't have a British dream. If your father is an electrician, well, you might be a plumber, but you'll never be a brain surgeon or an airline pilot or an architect. There is a stratification of society that very few people are able to break through that glass ceiling. So the American dream says, we don't care about your parents. We care about you. You come here, we'll get you educated. You'll become a productive member of society. You'll get a degree. You will finish university. You'll get a really great job. You'll earn enough money. You'll raise a healthy family. And your children and your children's children will all go to college. So how I bring this around to foster kids, let's define terms. Foster kids are children of any age who have been abused or neglected. They've been starved, sexually abused, beaten, whatever it may be, sufficiently badly that the government has taken them into care. They become the responsibility of government, and therefore they are all our responsibility. So about 12 years ago, I read statistics which said that of all Americans, roughly 40% go to colleges and universities out of high school, but foster kids, it's 9%. And of that 9%, most of them never graduate. So I thought, well, that's absurd, isn't it? These are children by definition who have no reliable families. They have negative families, and they're not going to turn out well. What could one do that would help them? Well, education would be a really good thing, because that would give them the pivot that would enable them to turn out differently than their parents. And so I took myself off to UCLA, the big public local university here in Los Angeles, and I met with the chancellor, actually the vice chancellor, Gene Block. I think he thought I was going to donate money, which I didn't do. But what I said to him is, I have this idea. I've asked myself the question, why do foster kids, kids who are in care, who are abused or neglected, why do they almost never go to university or college? And I've decided it's because there are no role models. They don't have anybody telling them that they should, and they have no pathway, either academically or in any other way, to get themselves into college. He said, so what would you propose we do about it? And I said, well, I would like us to partner between my nonprofit and this great big 30,000 undergraduate university, and we will house, educate, and encourage high school aged foster kids, youth in care, from ages 13 through 18. We'll have them on campus, living on campus in the summers, coming back every couple of weekends when it's not the summer. We'll do stuff online, and we will give them excellent role models taken from the student population, the undergraduate population of UCLA, and we will show them what success looks like. And they're mostly attending very poorly performing high schools, but we will give them an excellent academic education. That's something a university knows a lot about how to do that. And he said, well, how old are the kids? And I said, well, they are years 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's that 4-year period of high school. And he said, will it be safe? I said, it will be safe. You have kids in tennis camp and math camp and chess camp every summer on this campus. Nothing bad happens to any of them or to the campus. And he said, where will the money come from? I said, I don't know yet, but I think if you say yes, we will go and find it. And how about this? Until we find the money, we won't do it. So you actually have no risk at all. So at the end of an hour and a half, he put his hand out and he said, okay, we're going to do this. So we piloted in 2011 at UCLA. So here we are in 2021. We have 15 of these academies across the United States, each a partnership and operating on the campus of a big, fine, excellent university. And we have 3 so far in the United Kingdom. And we're going to expand soon to Australia and Canada. And by the way, we should absolutely be in Brazil, but that's a conversation for another day. So it's a partnership with the university to house, educate, and encourage high school age foster kids and to show them what good looks like. We hire as youth coaches, as mentors, as tutors, undergrad and grad students from the host university. The curriculum is about 1/3 academic. If you don't get the grades, you can be very well adjusted, but you're never going to college or university if you don't have the right grades. So we lean on the academic side of the university to get those classes going. The second 1/3 of the curriculum is life skills. These are kids who have been not just abused or neglected, but then raised in institutional foster care, in group homes, orphanages, or they've been placed with a family of strangers. The single thing that is most missing is love, encouragement, expertise in parenting, any expertise whatsoever academically. Most foster families are very ill-equipped to help their kid in the evening with algebra homework at the kitchen table, or biology or physics or anything like that. So we lean on the university to provide excellent academics, but also life skills. What are life skills? Financial literacy, sex ed. What is the difference between sex and love? If no one's ever explained it to you, one of the absurd things is when the kids first come to us, age 13 and a half or 14, we often have to have a class, how to brush your teeth. Why don't they know how to brush their teeth? Nobody took 10 minutes to explain it and show them. So the second third is life skills. And the other third doesn't really have a name. It's love, it's encouragement, it's being the set of grown-ups when the kid greatly improves their school grades and all of a sudden they've gone from C's and C minuses and they get an A minus or an A. It's a terrible thing for a teenager not to have anyone to boast to. You have to have someone to take the homework where it says congratulations A minus in red from the teacher in the top right hand corner and you got a gold star or whatever you got. You have to have someone to show it to whose respect you covet, because that is how we encourage our kids. So we do those three things and the results speak for themselves. You heard me say that in the United States, 45% approximately of all teenagers go to colleges and universities out of high school. And you heard me say that 9% of foster kids go to colleges and universities. In the most recent 3 years, averaged across all of our academies, 15 of them, we got 87% of our foster kids into colleges and universities. They got a place and they've gone. And we're not only teaching them how to get in, which we're teaching them study skills and so forth so that they can thrive when they are there. So think of that. We are getting twice as high a proportion of our foster kids who've been abused or neglected into colleges and universities as the entire country gets its own kids into colleges and universities. Or if you want to look at it a different way, instead of 9% of foster kids nationally going to college, we're getting very nearly 90%. So 10x, 10 times the benchmark. So it's an enormous success. All we have to do now is raise more money and expand to more college campuses. The only thing I think that is very strange is that nobody did it before us.
Wow. Honestly, I think I know why people didn't do it before you, because it takes a vision, it takes sometimes takes a life experience to actually understand it and feel it in your skin and put yourself into that position. And I'm really impressed with how well thought through the program is, because it's not just about having good grades, right? It's about so much more of that. So I'm really impressed. I'm actually out of words right now.
Well, you're very kind.
Oh,
and I would say this to you, Danielle. It gets more straightforward the more we do it. I think back on our first intake of 13 and a half, 14-year-olds, a decade ago. I'm not quite sure how we did it. We were making it up as we did it. You do have an enormous advantage being based at a university, which is you have true experts, not just pedagogically in teaching, but also in psychology, in social work. You have people at a university who wrote the textbook on these subjects, and they also know how to measure things. We tend in our society to only measure things with dollar signs, but you can actually measure psychosocial outlook. You can measure self-esteem. There's stuff that you can do to put numbers around this to see how you're doing. And of course, one of the glories, there's a big accounting firm in America called Deloitte, and Deloitte came to us and said, what you're doing is magnificent. Thank you very much. What can we do for you? And I said, what you can do for us is build us a dashboard so each of our directors at each of the 15 academies will enter in the data for each of their students. And we average about 60 students per academy, sometimes 90, sometimes only 30, but an average maybe of 60, 2 cohorts or 2 classes of 30. We need a dashboard where we can keep track of how each student is doing but also so that we can aggregate them and we can say to a director, you know, you're doing so well in English, but you're falling back in math, and your self-esteem score is behind the average of the other academies. Let's see if we can pick that up. So the great glory of having a network is that you have measurability, and from measurability come high standards, and you know, we're greater than the sum of our parts, is how I would put it. And it just really works. I don't think any of it is rocket science. We're doing for these kids, if they had fantastic parents, which they don't, then we're just doing what they would do. Well, might you say, how can it possibly be true that you're getting twice as high a proportion of abused and neglected kids into colleges and universities than kids who haven't been abused or neglected? And of course, the answer is we have a whole university helping us, you know, filling in the, doing the math homework. We've got a professor of math at a big university doing the homework class, or we've got a grad student in math, or let's say filling in the student aid scholarship form. Well, it's tricky to fill it in if you're sitting with foster parents who have never been to university themselves. Why would they have any clue how to fill it in? But if you are sitting in a university with the head of the Department of Student Aid of the university, who says, open your laptops, line 1, fill in your name, and then helps get it to highest and best. It's so interesting. Universities would like to do especially kind helpfulness to kids who have been abused or neglected. But if they don't know who they are, then how will they know who to help? So one of the things that we say to our students is the student essay is where you talk about your life so that you move the heart of the person in admissions in some big university, and that is how they will move heaven and earth to offer you a scholarship, to offer you a place. I look back on my life, if I hadn't had my scholarship, I might have been very happy, but I definitely wouldn't have been a film producer who's produced 26 films and, you know, with a happy family and raised 4 kids and have the house and the whole thing. And I put it back to the American dream, you know, give us your huddled masses. So I said, I can be a huddled mass. Give me the opportunity and I will show you what I can do. And I think part of what I do here in the United States now as an American citizen is payback. I'm saying, thank you for letting me in. Thank you for my citizenship. And before that, the green card. Let me show you how I can, by the time I die, I will leave America a much better place because of what I've done directly and indirectly as the one that received me and said, sure, come on in here, be an accomplished person, have a good job, pay taxes, you know, be a consumer, help us build the gross national product of the United States. All of those things, I think most Americans are clueless on that subject. They don't understand. They don't understand that immigrants are how this country was made. You know, think of it this way. It's free brains. You know, bring us your brains. We will put you to work and you will have a happy life and build our economy. You need that. You know, in the UK, where I come from, they've done this terrible Brexit thing. They can't get truck drivers. They can't get all sorts of people. There are terrible shortages of people in various categories, nurses, doctors, teachers, people that they really need. But by closing the doors to immigration to a great degree, now they're stuck. You know, good luck with that one. The lies that were told to push Brexit through, it's a terrible thing that politicians can tell lies and then they don't get arrested for the lies. But the result of a vote has happened and they're suffering from it in the UK in many different areas and in many different aspects. Here, we have some of the same thing, but it's so interesting. Who is pushing back against the immigration restrictions are people like agriculture, big agriculture companies. They can't get anybody to pick the grapes and pick the avocados and the oranges and all the rest of it. You have to have people to do the work. And if you can't hire them locally, you better bring them in to help you. The more you do, those free brains, this is why it's such a tragedy, I think, what's happening in Afghanistan. 20 years of highly accomplished women who have now earned doctorates and masters and bachelors and are professionals. That asset to the Afghani community, to its economy, they've either left or they're being told, go home and have the babies and, you know, cook the meal and clean the house. But what about all that brain power? It's not only terrible for them, it's awful for the country. If you look at where are the deprived countries in the world, disproportionately, it's where they tell their women, 50% of the population, to stay home. We need all our young women and our young men. And all we're really doing in First Star is we're saying we can't throw away 433,000 young people. They are no brighter or less intelligent. They're exactly the same on the bell curve of intelligence, IQ, as any other 433,000 American kids of the same ages. We should put them to work. But to put them to work, we have to get them self-esteem, opportunities, academic credentials, and that extra 4 years of college or university is really important. First of all, within 2 years of aging out of foster care, almost half of foster kids are homeless. So if you go to university, well, you're not going to be homeless because we don't let them apply, or we strongly encourage them to only apply where they will be allowed to stay in the dorm 365 days a year. So you will not be homeless. This terrible thing that the foster family or the group home says, here are your belongings in the trash bag, your happy birthday for your 18th birthday, have a nice life, send us a postcard. What the heck is that? I've raised 4 children. None of them were adult at 18. So the crass basic thing that going to university does is it gives you somewhere to live and be surrounded by encouraging people for another 4 years. It's different to have to fend for yourself at 22 than it is at 18.
Yeah, absolutely. I think none of us is an adult by the age of 18, right?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, me either. Well, I love the passion you speak about it. And most of my questions to you today were actually addressed already. So I have 2 left in here before we run out of time. That is, first one, how can we help those young people, those children, those teens, get in touch with First Star? And can we nominate people? How can we make this bridge between them?
Right. At the moment, they need to be in the United States or in the United Kingdom, and they need to be in grades or years 9, 10, 11, and 12. In other words, they're roughly 13 and a half years old up to 18. And obviously, we have to have places available. But in each country, we have a new program or academy, which is our online STEAM Academy. And of course, it's not limited by the number of students. We could have hundreds or thousands. So we always have places available there, pretty much. And so firststar.org, there are places there on our website to nominate students. There's an application process. They have to write a little essay. Please imagine that it is your 100th birthday party and your best friend who's known you your whole life makes a toast. What would you like them to be able to say? It's the most wonderful thing reading these, because sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's frustration. it's ambition, it's the secret things in their mind about what they might, under other circumstances, want to do. And it's an extraordinary process. They have to be nominated by someone. That's not difficult. So number one is absolutely nominate students to us in the United States and the UK, and soon in Australia and Canada, I hope. And if you tell me go, we'll explore Brazil with you. Why wouldn't we? Which leads to the second thing is more academies. So what it takes is a top-down, high-level relationship with the leadership of a big university. Has to be an excellent university. The program doesn't cost them anything. It's paid for by government and philanthropy, but it needs the university to cooperate and be keen and to stand by it. It's very much a partnership. It never seems to work when I go in and meet with the assistant professor of something or other. They always love it. And then they phone me a month later and say, I don't know where it went wrong, but I just can't sell it upstairs. It always works when I meet with the chancellor, the vice chancellor, a dean, the provost, somebody like that. And I say to them, you only need to meet with me for half an hour, 40 minutes. You never need to see my face again, but I do need that first meeting with you. And then they pass it downwards to a committee and we make it happen. We've never failed to find the money when the university has wanted it. Obviously, there need to be looked after children, foster children. We say within a 45-minute commute, if it's one of our face-to-face academies. So that would be the second thing. And then the third thing, if there's anyone with a very large checkbook or a checkbook of any size, please, God, go on firststar.org, firststar.org. Click on the donate button. It's tax deductible in the United Kingdom and the United States. And you can lift up some young lives. Nothing the matter with the kids. Everything wrong in foster care is the matter with the grown-ups. It's the original grown-ups who abused or neglected them. It's the institutional system which doesn't encourage them or love them or lift them up. And places, you know, we ask the kids when they come in, what do you think you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I'll get a job in McDonald's. Why wouldn't you want to be a dancer, an architect, a doctor, a lawyer, a journalist? Why do you want to sweep the floor somewhere? Well, because how would I do that? Well, welcome to First Star. We're going to show you. And it's a ladder. If you fall off the ladder, we'll put you back onto the ladder. But only you can move your feet to climb up the ladder. And at the top of it, you'll go to college. It's another ladder. And at the top of that ladder, you'll have a happy, productive, high-earning life. And you will raise a healthy family. And you will pivot your whole family away from abuse and neglect and towards much better futures.
Wow, this I'm still out of words. Thank you so very much for talking to us today. This was a great and a delightful conversation. And
well, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. And firststar.org. And people can find me through that website. And this is the best thing I've ever done. And I could use some help doing more of it. We know that it works.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll try to help. No, you're very welcome. It's truly our pleasure. And for everyone listening, thank you so much as well. And if you enjoyed this episode, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. That will show the algorithms that this is an important conversation so more people can learn about the importance of firststar.org. Thank you and see you on the next episode.